We are back. I have been taking a bit of a break from podcasting and just recording stuff in general. I just feel like I needed a break to deal with some stuff, and I now feel more confident and kind of got like the green light, you could say, from God to do this again. I'm now a year older since I last talked on the pod, and feel like I'm at least 1% better than I was the year before, hopefully. Everybody has their perspectives and everything, and I just figured I'd go and share some things that I've learned up till now, some things that really stuck out to me, and just share them with you guys, as well as just kind of have like a journal entry, I guess you could say, that I could look back at and kind of reminisce and see how far I've gone and how far I've grown and where I am in life now. That's kind of going to be this episode. It's a monologue. I will be having a guest very soon on the ones that I've mentioned in the past. If you have been in my circles of friends or just people I've been hanging out with, you've probably heard about it. Let's just dive into it. So the first and biggest thing I've learned this year of maturing, let's put it that way. One person said, well, you're older, but now you're like a mature fine wine. And I'm like, you know what? I'll take that. That's a good way of putting it. I really feel that. I feel like I've gotten to a place where I've been through the ringer a bit, taken some hits from life, taken some L's and some W's, and learned some big lessons from it. One of the biggest ones is family is everything. Family is everything. Obviously, God's number one and stuff, but like in terms of a practical, like on earth type of example, like your family is everything. Have that as your biggest priority above friends, above, relationships. And when I mean relationships, I mean people that could be in your life tomorrow, could not be in your life tomorrow, until, maybe it's a special someone and you plan on having a family with them. Even up till the moment that you're actually married, like family is everything. Another big one is just learning to be unhurried. I've been reading a book that I finished by John Mark Comer, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. And something that really stuck out to me was this idea that, walk in love. And you're like, okay, walk in love. Like I've heard that before. But it really dived into this idea of that, like our generation, and just not even our generation, generations before, have been hurrying, and since the beginning of the invention of the sundial, we kind of put ourselves into this box, or trapped ourselves into this box of time and perpetual progress and expansion and et cetera, and making things more efficient, which, in one way you could see it as a good thing, but in another way, it's like everybody's just more stressed, more anxious, more everything. And so learning this kind of like pace of like, hey, one day at a time, don't worry about tomorrow, and just focus on today, focus on being in the moment, which for me, if you know me, is a really hard thing to do. I love being a person with a plan, and I want to be somebody who really kind of gets everything done in a specific time and order, and et cetera, et cetera. High degree of orderliness, if you are a Jordan Peterson fan. And that was a really big lesson. Just learning that basically, we're told to walk in love, not run in love. And a lot of us we're running in this life, and learning that, hey, just slow down, focus on the things that matter. And in order to unhurry your life, you might have to cut out some things. You might have to simplify your life, your wants, your desires, and just focus on the things that really matter. And he gave some great examples. I really don't want to spoil this book, but a great example was like he gave was, let's say you want a motorcycle, and that motorcycle is just like going to require maintenance and all this other stuff. It's a great thing, all this stuff, but ultimately it's going to take up more of your time. And yeah, if you're feeling stressed from hurrying and all this other stuff, maybe you got to throw out some stuff or minimize some stuff in your life and just get down to the bolts and, the basics of everything. And yeah, so that's been a big lesson. Another big lesson has been just, I guess I knew this, but more of like when you're older, you realize this even more to a greater extent, is the importance of having a good community of people that you can run with, and people that will call you out in a right way, like challenge you. But at the same time, we'll be there just to listen and just be there for you in times when they just need to listen and not do anything because they see you're going through things. Yeah, that was a very big one. But another big one was just that everything happens for a reason. Everything, even when we understand it or don't understand it, happens for a reason. There's things that are still happening in my life. I don't know why or what they're for, but I trust God that everything will work out. Everything will be the way He wants it to happen. His plans are for us, not against us, to prosper us and, just make our life great, essentially. Maybe not our definition of great. That's a whole nother topic. But it's the way He intended it for us. And ultimately, realizing that our lives in general, they're not for ourselves. We were all created for each other. One of the reasons I believe God created Adam and Eve, God saw that it was not good for a man to be alone, and He created Eve. And guess what? God's like, hey, I have a friend, Adam, but he don't have anybody. So ultimately, be surrounded with people, I guess, going back to that whole lesson and of stuff. But yeah, that was a big one. This is a big one. It's kind of tying into the previous thing about trust. I guess how I kind of got into that whole rhythm is reading Psalms. That was just something big that got put in my heart for this year. And one revolving topic that really stood out to me, and maybe it's just because of things that I've been going through in life, is those who put their trust in the Lord shall not be put to shame. You'll see that as a revolving topic. And, I've read it multiple times. It didn't really just pop into my face as much as it did this time. But it really was something that was just like, wow, God is faithful. He's doing His thing. And even in moments where it seems like it's bleak, it's just, this is the end. He comes in at the very last moment sometimes just to be like, hey, I was trying to see if you love me more than the gifts I give you. Kind of like an Abraham and Isaac moment, you know, where it's just like, boom, he's about to stab, and it's like God's like, angel, boom, stop. I see you. I know that you love me, you care about me. I'm your number one, not anything else. Your heart is about me. It's about my will, not your will. And yeah, that's a big one. That's a big lesson right there. When God really tests you and checks what your areas of supports are. Are you going to crumble? Are you going to fall down? And at the end of it, it's like, even if you do make a mistake or whatever, like God's still there. He still loves you. He still understands. And it's more like training wheels, I guess you could say, a kid learning to ride a bike with training wheels. And, you know, we're all living this life for the first time. It's not like we've had experience doing this life thing before. We're all doing our best. We're all trying to be a good servant to God, to the best of our abilities, to the best of our knowledge and understanding. And I think that's, you know, very comforting, especially because, I don't know, there's certain people that they seem like the way they portray themselves, it's like they got their stuff together, but they're just faking it till they're making it, bro. Like, or sis, you know, I think that's why the Bible says that we know in part and we understand in part. So like, no matter who you listen to, what author, Christian, non-Christian, you know, brainiacs, whoever they are, you know, high IQ people, just have this confidence, and maybe this will ease your anxiety and just that kind of overwhelming feeling of like, I need to know everything, or just be like super tailored and, you know, crossing all the T's and all that stuff. They don't know everything. They know maybe at max 50%. In part, I take that translation as 50% at max. Might be even less, to be honest. I don't know exactly how that was calculated by God, of what we know in part and understand in part. But yeah, that was very comforting to know. And I think another big lesson that really stood out to me this year was don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to reach out to friends, family, other resources, whatever it may be. When you feel like you need somebody to help you carry that weight that you're going with in life. For me, that's a really hard pill to swallow, because being the oldest in the family, you're always type A, usually, scientifically proven. And so you always feel like you're always driven. You got to always have the answers. You always got to just be the person who everybody comes to you for advice and help and everything, versus you going to somebody else. And it was hard. It may be like a death to self moment in that part of my life, that, you know, God just kind of like, hey, you gotta surrender this. And everybody kind of like, if you watch the episode of Chris, where he talked about how every person portrays a piece of God, you know, because we all carry the image of our Creator. And only through those other people can you see that version or that portion of God. And it might just be the piece that you need to fill your puzzle of whatever you're going through. So that was that. What else? And sorry, guys, if this is just kind of feels like it's getting dragged out. But part of getting unhurried, that's a lesson for you right there. Maybe this is through this podcast, you're being taught to unhurry and slow down, because haste often leads to issues. That's a Bible verse. Not exactly quoted, but you'll find it. I believe it's in Proverbs. But yeah, that's a big one. And another one is a lesson about how being secure in what God puts into you. You could say the right things, you could do the right things, you can whatever, just be like, essentially blameless in what you're doing. And some people still get offended. They'll misperceive, misunderstand, miss whatever it is. As the saying or analogy goes, it's like, even if you're an angel, some people will still be irritated by the sound of your wings. And that was a big lesson, because, often you try to do the right things and people just misunderstand, misinterpret what you're trying to do. And it's like, okay, that's fine. The devil don't sleep. He's trying to kill, steal, and destroy. He's always going to try to wiggle his way through and cause division, hate, anger, destruction of your peace, of whatever it is. And don't take it personal. Don't take it out on the person if they are misinterpreting you, whatever. Just know it's an attack on them and on you. First on them, because, well, they're trying to see you through a negative light. Maybe it's envy, maybe it's whatever it is. I don't know. And then it's an attack on your peace, your sanity, I guess you could say, to some degree. And ultimately, God's trying to form you. He's trying to build you. He's trying to build that patience, the kindness, the qualities of love. 1 Corinthians 13. My favorite thing about that verse is just the simplicity of it. It's kind of like very direct, love is this. And not very often do you see in the Bible where it's just like very like concrete. But when it does talk about stuff concrete, like this is the way, I love that type A personality again. It's really nice. It's really nice to hear it. And so one of the things I kind of been doing since, I don't know, I think I was 18 or something, is when I feel like my identity is being attacked or anything like that, I always try to go back to that chapter and replace love with my name and see if I exhibit those qualities. And if I don't, or feel like I need some refinement in those areas, then, God definitely goes at it, and you pray about it and he goes at it. And it's not always pretty. It's not always nice. Doesn't feel the best, but he knows what he's doing. Ultimately, he's been really good. God's been really faithful. He's been getting me through a lot. Journaling is amazing, by the way, guys. I didn't journal on a regular, but this year I've been pretty consistent with it, and it's been amazing. Journaling my prayers, both blessings, worries, anxious thoughts, depressive thoughts, um, whatever I feel like I need to say to God, but I maybe don't have the words to pray about it, or it's just hard to express any other way. Um, that really helps. So I highly encourage you, check that out. Um, oh, this is another good thing is, kind of going back to the family community aspect is during this hurricane that happened recently this year, Milton, we went to visit friends and family in South Carolina, and just seeing all those people I grew up with, like the older folk, friends of my parents and their kids. Some of them already married and waiting kids and everything else. I don't know. It just restored. That's a better word. Restored this sense of like, God, you know what you're doing, in me in a weird way that I've never experienced before. I'm not hyper spiritual or whatever, like all about the feelings. I believe in balance of logos and rema 100%. But yeah, just God is faithful. God is good. He knows what he's doing. He has a plan for everybody, and he's going to get you through it no matter what it looks like. Be encouraged. Trust the Lord. Put your hope in him, and he will not put you to shame. This is Daniel doing his monologue. Hope you enjoyed your time with me. Hearing out my thoughts, the kind of journal entry, I guess you could say, a bit in an audio format this time. And I'll be, hopefully, God willingly, releasing some more content on the podcast coming forward very soon. So keep an eye out on that, guys. And if you can, share with your friends. Ask them to leave reviews. Leave a review yourself if you haven't. Would ask more specifically on the actual podcast platforms like Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So yeah, but even if you're watching on YouTube, leave a review, leave a comment. Maybe there's something you want me to talk about and discuss and kind of hear other people's perspective on. And let me know what kind of guests you would like to have on the podcast. Pastors, business people, engineers, I don't know, people who are astrophysicists, maybe. I don't know. We'll see where this goes. And yeah, so have a good day. Love you guys. Bye.